Hello YouTube, this is a review and a comparison on Reproduction WW2 German low boots. It's a comparison because, as you can see, there's two different pairs of boots here. These are from two different vendors, so I will try to point out the differences between both pairs here. So we'll start off with the boots on the left here. These are from Man the Line and can be had at www.mantheline.com. Also on eBay, I believe Lucky Line 45 is his eBay handle. Price-wise, I bought these on sale on eBay for $186 shipped. So not a bad price. Boots on the right are from SM Wholesale, made in the USA, and these can be had at www.smwholesaleusa.com and also www.1944militaria.com. The cost of these boots are about $250 plus shipping, so around $260-ish is what you'll come out on those boots. On the side note, if you're getting these boots, I recommend get these SM Wholesale boots from 1944 Militaria. Drew has outstanding customer service, and I've heard some nightmare stories about people ordering directly from SM Wholesale's website, getting sent wrong sizes, having difficulties making returns, and things of that nature. So, in any case, just a side note. So, already off the bat, we've got a price comparison in the favor of the Man the Line boots. But I did get these on sale, so I think the regular price on those boots is like $210. So we'll just call it $210 versus $260. Still, Man the Line boots are slightly in the price favor there. So let's just start looking at the Man the Line boots first. What we have here is a rough out toe. So this leather around the toe is rough side out, and one of the things that I liked immediately about it is that it's really thick. This leather is very thick, and it is skived down to almost where it starts to meet the smooth side on the opposite side of the boot, and the inside is the smooth out leather. So which means that they started with a very thick piece of leather. And skived it down to where they felt like it had the flexibility and everything that they needed for this part of the boot. So I like that. The rest of the upper here is smooth side out, and it appears to have a coating of a varnish or a clear acrylic or something like that, which is typical of finishing the smooth side out leather in boots and shoes. White stitching is white nylon, which is good and strong. That's actually what you would want in this application here. Spacing is really nice. Stitching looks good. So moving right along here, it has a stacked leather heel. Correct taper, so it tapers in right there. Correct heel irons installed there. It looks like the sole here has been constructed by stitching and also wood pegs. It appears like the wood pegs stop right here. Like I would kind of not assume that these wood pegs continue underneath the half sole, but I could be wrong. It's just visually what I see here. Half sole is nice and thick. It's skived down here, tapered. See that, how it's tapered? And it appears to be about 4.5, maybe 5 millimeters thick. So not the thickest half sole that they produce, but thick enough. Hobnails appear to be of the Reproduction variety. and also wood pegged. You can see the wood pegs in the half sole there as well that go all the way around there. And you've got 2 rows down here at the bottom. It looks like that might be a wood peg floating around in there, but it seems like the pattern on this boot is 2 rows around the outside. So, all right. The laces on these are a tubular cotton, which is, you know, what's modern and easily available, so I can definitely see why they went with those. I wouldn't say they're incorrect, but if you want to get with some leather laces, I mean, you can find those. They can be had for, you know, $5-10 a pair, something like that. Kriegzinda, I believe, has some unissued original laces on their website for, I think, like $5 or something like that. You can kind of see how it's put together in the back here. It's assembled. Nice zigzag stitch that kind of hold the 2 pieces of leather together, and then a double row of stitches reinforced by this back strap, which is slightly different than the SM Wholesale boot. We'll cover that when we get to that boot. Inside the boot, which my lighting is kind of making it difficult to see, inside the boot on both pairs seems to be constructed relatively the same way. So I wouldn't prefer one or the other over the inside of the boot. On this boot here, we have 5 eyelets followed by 4 lace hooks. They seem to be installed really well. I mean, I have not found a defect in these boots yet. They seem well made. I'm guessing they're probably imported, but they seem well made, and they're a pretty comfortable boot. I mean, it feels like on the SM boot that there might be a little bit more room in the toe, but these are not broken in, and so, you know, with the boot beginning to flex and take its shape to your foot, you know, that could change. But not uncomfortable, but just noting that the SM boot seems like it just might have a little bit more of a bubble shape. But I've tried these boots on with thick wool socks and insoles, and it's true to my size. So I would suspect it would be true to your size as well, and it was comfortable. So as far as I can tell, both of these pairs of boots appear to be true to size. So just order the size that you normally wear. If there's any question, go up a size to compensate for maybe, you know, thick socks and some good thick insoles, if that's your thing. All right, so moving right along to the SM Wholesale boots here. We'll start with the same details. This is a rough out toe, and as I mentioned on the Mandelion boots, the leather seemed like it was a little bit thicker on the Mandelion boot by just a tiny little bit. These are still not thin by any stretch of the imagination, thick enough. And the rest of the upper is a smooth out leather. White nylon stitching, as you can see here, looks very similar to the Mandelion boot. With the Mandelion boot, there was 2 rows of stitching right here, whereas with the SM Wholesale boot, it looks like on this upper row right here, they came back down and then just kind of stopped. Not sure why. Maybe the original boot they copied was that way, or what have you, but just noting that as a difference. All right, stacked leather heel, correct taper, heel irons installed. This sole is sewn, and then also wood pegs installed. And you might see what I'm talking about here with the Mandelion boots. It seemed like, you know, the wood pegs on the base sole here stopped about right there. Whereas these, you can tell they kind of go all the way up, and I would suspect that they run underneath the half sole. And then also the half sole here has been installed with wood pegs. It's a little bit different in the fact that, well, he's got, 2 rows here, but then the wood pegs kind of go like this as opposed to having these 2 rows on the outside. It's just preference. I think it's just 2 different ways of manufacturing. Neither is right, neither is wrong, but just noting a difference there. Also, the sole here on this one, this is probably about 5.5 millimeters thick. This is a heavy sole. This is like the heaviest sole that that you can get. But notice how it's not skived. It's not tapered down here. I don't know why they chose to do it that way, but it's just cut straight off right here. Kind of had me scratching my head because the standard when applying this sole is to kind of taper it in, skive it down, but I don't foresee it creating any problems. But I suppose gunk, dirt could kind of get stuck in there and then have to be kind of scrubbed out, but time will tell. So while I've got this boot in my hand, I will mention that there appears to be a steel shank in here. Whereas I believe the man-the-line boot does not have a steel shank. I was able to put a magnet to this area and was able to detect that there is what appears to be a steel shank in here, which is how a lot of boots are constructed. Work boots, cowboy boots, they have steel shanks in them, whereas it seems like this boot did not. I put a magnet to this area and nothing. So not sure if that's a deal breaker or not, but just figured I would note that. Also, with the SM Wholesale boots, a countdown revealed that it seemed that the SM Wholesale boots have 3 more hobnails than the man-the-line boot. So for whatever that's worth, and the sole bend here, this piece of leather, the base sole, whatever you want to call it, seems like it's just a little bit thicker than the man-the-line boot. But then again, if you were to order another pair of SM Wholesale boots, it might be different because we're talking about a natural material that was once on a living creature, and they're not all the exact same thickness. So sole bends between these handcrafted boots like this tend to vary. So, and if you look in the back of the boot here, you'll see a slight manufacturing variance between the man-the-line boot and the SM Wholesale boot. Also, there's an extra piece of leather here on the inside as opposed to the man-the-line boot where it's not. Don't think either is right or wrong. It's just a variance, and figured I'd point that out. Moving up to the laces here, we have 4 eyelets here where the man-the-line boot had 5, and then we have 4 lace hooks. Now, I'm also going to point out on one of my boots here that I got, they seem to be kind of off. I don't know if you can see that right there. See how one hook is kind of higher than the other, and this is kind of like, okay. It doesn't hurt. It's not uncomfortable. It doesn't affect its performance, I don't think, at all. Just the laces lay a little bit weird. But anyway. So the laces on these are a flat cotton lace, and this is supposedly the correct lace for the German low boot. Appears to be like waxed or something like that, but again, Kriegzende I think is selling these for like $5 or something like that. So if you wanted to get the man-the-line boots and put these kind of laces on there, it would be an inexpensive upgrade. So I mean, both really good boots in my opinion. If you wanted to make your man-the-line boots black like the SM Wholesale, there you go. You can get this from Tandy Leather. It's like $6-7 a bottle. You can get it from Amazon. It's enough to do a couple pairs of boots. So Just get an applicator and some rubber gloves and you're off to the races. So we've covered a lot of the differences. A few others is the height of the boot. So as you can see, the Man Aligned boot is quite a bit higher, maybe by 1.5 inches, 1.75 inches, something like that, which doesn't bother me. I mean, I think it allows for your Gamaschen and your gaiters to get a much larger purchase on the boot, on the shaft of the boot there. Wearing low boots, if you're a German reenactor, you know Gamaschen have a tendency to slide up and have to be readjusted, and this might be a little more friendly to your gaiters. Also, just the opening for the shaft of the boot, the SM Wholesales are a little bit smaller. So if you have thin or skinny ankles like I do, I kind of prefer this kind of taper right here as opposed to that one. You see the difference there. Now I've worn both of these boots and neither is uncomfortable. I mean, this is not uncomfortable. There's just a little bit of extra room in the back there. But I mean, it could be easily fixed by just having a cobbler or a shoemaker open up that stitch and perhaps trim it out a little bit, reclose it, put that back up, and you might have a little bit more of a contour there. See, something like that. But I think if you have medium, average to large ankles, I mean, that would be a non-issue. I just have thinner ankles, so something to consider there. Well, I think we've just about covered everything between these two boots. I hope this helps you make a decision on if you were looking at either of these two boots as an option. I hope I helped a little bit. If so, hit like button or comment below. Thanks, guys.